and I hope I will be able to do. Okay. As I guess you said that I'm a journalist, and mostly I'm a mother and a wife. And I think I'm here because I married the wrong man. Obviously, I'm joking. My husband is wrong, because just like Chesterton would say, all husbands and all wives are wrongly matched, incompatible just like a fork and a knife. But I mean, I'm here together with professors, theologists, Congress people, even if I don't have academic titles, because in the first year of our marriage, when I forced myself to learn to love my knife, it happened that a friend of mine asked me to write a book to be published quick enough. At the time, I was just an economics and finance journalist. Now I deal with Vatican chronicles, but mostly I was a wife and a mother of four. A Catholic, but without specific preparation about theology, apart from catechism. But since the only thing I was interested in was saying to the world that getting married is always worthwhile, I started writing that book that was Get Married and Be Submissive, those Polish title I'm not able to pronounce. In that book, I told about the path I tried to follow to understand my vocation, to accept the conversion that my marriage was asking me to do. I described the effort to learn to stay with a person so much different than me, and not only the conversations with my spiritual father and confessor, also meetings and spiritual retreats I took part in before and after my wedding. This book has been translated in many languages, also in Polish, as I was saying. It became a small case, a bit notorious, but I didn't think I had written anything extraordinary. And yet, unexpectedly, the book sold many copies, and from that moment on, I started traveling at least once a week to go in parishes all over Italy, and sometimes outside, to speak disposes. And so I realized that there's so much need to announce the prophecy of marriage, today more than ever. That's because now being married is a non-conformist, a subversive, I would say, way of life. I mean, marriage is a very deep spiritual adventure, and only grace makes it possible. Furthermore, it is the base. It is something on which the transmission of life is based. And in fact, for many centuries, it's been the institution on which the societies all over the world have been founded. But today, at least in Western societies, surely in Italy, this institution is under attack, and we have to speak our announcement louder. For this reason, I'm very happy to attend this Congress, and I'm even happier that it's been organized, but also that it is held right here in the city of the Prophet, who talked about the greatness of marriage as a sign of the spousal relationship between man and God. We really must announce the beauty of the sacrament, and we have to find new words to say it. Today, at least in Western societies, the mainstream culture, especially among young people, I have 4 of them, is the one we could grossly define as gender. This culture basically states that men and women are equal and that the characteristics linked to gender are only cultural stereotypes. What lies under this ideology is that every person is substantially self-sufficient. This completely denies the anthropology announced by the gospel, according to which every creature needs a spousal relationship to be fulfilled and to be really happy. Another consequence at the practical level is that it's been imposed a culture that is contrary to everything that concerns sex differences. The female capacity to conceive life and to embrace and welcome life is not encouraged in our culture, not to mention to male authority. I'm talking about Italy, but maybe in Europe in general. Everything which concerns one man, white, heterosexual, has become a synonym of violent, bossy, and prevaricator. In the end, the real goal is to deny not only human paternity, but also, most of all, God's paternity. In addition to that, men and women understand each other less and less. So when I meet spouses, I try to explain the differences between the two of them. Difference is the sign of the path we are called to follow, to come out from ourselves, from our loneliness, and to give ourselves to others. Today, the main and common idea that is given by all the main media, all the mainstream culture, cinema, communication, etc., is the idea that I get married so that the other can make me happy. If it doesn't happen, either we leave each other or else I can even avoid to get married. In this way, looking for myself, I remain alone, not giving myself totally to someone else. Examples of differences. A woman speaks a language based not on the meaning of words, but on the tone of the voice, and the man is totally unprepared to translate it. At least in my house, I don't know. For instance, I used to say that if there had been a woman on Apollo 13 team, she would have said, Houston, we have a problem. Come on, say it. Oh no, if you don't get it by yourself, it doesn't matter. I always say this to my husband, and he never gets it. Another example of difference, men have an empty box in their brain. They're able not to think about anything, but we as women can't believe it. If a wife sees a man, her husband, with empty eyes thinking about nothing, she gets sure he's thinking about something secret. He cannot say. She starts imagining terrible things. He's thinking to his former girlfriend, maybe, he wants to break up with me. I could go on for hours, but the point is, men and women are deeply different, unlike the main culture says. Instead, what the church proposes to humankind is to open themselves and enter into a relationship, to live as Baptist people the sacrament of marriage, that is, truly live and enter a new real life already here on earth. But it's possible only with God's grace, just as Jesus himself says to disciples, protesting it is not expedient to marry. You need to start a serious spiritual life in 3, that is our topic of this morning. A reflection about starting and nourishing a spiritual life where the dialogue is among 3 people, the 2 spouses and God. This morning we're going to listen to some very high examples, but I have to say that I know many examples of couples where only one of them, almost always woman, is the one nurturing the dialogue with God and sacramental life. The first example coming to my mind is Elisabetta Canori Mora and then Elisabeth Lezer. They had very different stories, but by acceptance, love, and prayer, they were able to bring their spouse to Christ, though after their own death. I know many women who live this suffering, but I want to say that it is possible to live a life full of sense and follow God's will, even if there is pain, this kind of pain. Obviously, it's much better when husband and wife share their spiritual life since the beginning of their marriage, or at least during their life into. We have to pray for that. We have to be annoying towards God and stubborn. God always gives his Holy Spirit to the ones who ask for it, and we don't know God's times and plans. To be 2 in 1 flesh is the purpose, the end, not the starting line. People commonly think the wedding day is the most beautiful day, but we have to say clearly that it's just the beginning. It's the moment when a man and a woman, wounded by original sin, ask God for the miracle, the grace to be able and to love the way he does it. Loving in God's way is mostly forgiving. forgiving every single day, forgiving the spouse because he does things in a way that is different from the way we would do them, forgiving little things like little annoyances, shortcomings, the toothpaste without cap, the clothes in disorder, sometimes forgiving also big things. We need sometimes to forgive our spouse for not being the way we would love him or her to be. With the grace of God, you can also forgive adultery. Your spouse doesn't always understand everything of us. It is what John Paul II called original loneliness. I don't know how to say it in Polish. In Italian it sounds solitudine originaria, the words he used. It is something that changed my idea of marriage, and I owe it to the Pope of my childhood, youth, and adult life. I will always be grateful to Poland for giving him to us. He gave me the certainty that just God, who is intimate to us more than ourselves, as St. Augustine says, can enter our sancta sanctorum and give us the fullness our heart desires. He is the spouse of our heart, and He is the only one who can allow our relationship to flourish. The reason why so many marriages are suffering today is that we have erased God from our horizon. Sometimes, if I can dare, even inside the church, we have stopped saying the marriage is a travel in search of God to become one from two people. This is why I think this Congress is precious and necessary, and I'm grateful to be here and proud to be in this little army who wants to serve God. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.